It is April 24th, 2024, the day before that time honored NFL tradition that we all look forward to every year. You know what I'm talking about. The time when ESPN, right as the Seahawks are on the clock, decides to go to a commercial break. Okay, everybody, welcome back. It's great to be with you. Welcome to the Seahawk Boys Fearless and Super Smart NFL channel. It's great to have all 15 or 20 of you here. Now, there's more than that. A lot of people are watching the shows. I appreciate that. Not a lot of people, but people are starting to watch the shows. We're starting to get some traction here with the channel. And the reason we get traction is because we are different. We actually have a brain. We actually know a little bit about football, and we actually think outside the box, and we're not compromised by like certain people in the Seahawks YouTube slash Twitter X community who can't really say anything critical about the team or the coaches or the GM because they're afraid they'll lose access. Well, we don't have any access, therefore we can say anything we fucking want to. And beyond, at this point, the main thing I would say is Pete Carroll and John Schneider are clowns. They're idiots. They've screwed this roster up to an incredible degree. And the only question remains now is, was that more Pete than it was John? And is John smart enough to redeem his reputation with this draft? We don't know. We're about to find out. Tomorrow is the big. It's the day before the day before. The day after tomorrow is the no, it's Wednesday. It's the big day. It's tomorrow night. So later on tonight, after Whiskey and Wisdom with Mark Z, Seahawk Boy Dave and I are going to sit down and we're going to do two things. We're going to do exactly what I'm going to do here on my side of it. We're going to do a 2-round pick every pick mock draft, and then we're going to do a 7-round Seahawks only mock draft. Now, there have been a couple of developments in the last couple of days, and one of them is that Rob Staten, one of the few people in Seahawks media and the Seahawks blogverse, Twitterverse that we actually respect, came out with his final horizontal board before the NFL draft. And as we take a look at that, it's pretty, it's not changed a lot, but there is some interesting stuff in there that we want to look at. First of all, in the upper left-hand corner, the only blue chip quarterback he has is Caleb Williams. He has Jaden Daniels as legit round 1. And then down below that, he has Michael Penix Jr. as would take in round 1. Now, we all know at least 5, possibly 6 quarterbacks are going to go in the first round. He also has Spencer Rattler, Drake May, J.J. McCarthy as second-round picks. He has Bo Nix rated as a third-round pick. Despite my extreme respect for Rob Staten, I disagree with him fully on Bo Nix. I've seen him play live. Everything about him screams NFL signal caller. He's got the legs. He's got the arm. He's got the ability to make plays under pressure. And again, I think something that's really been underrated is the guys who are most effective against the blitz in this draft are number 1, Michael Penix, number 2, Bo Nix. Okay, 1 out of every 12 times he is blitzed or pressured, Michael Penix gets sacked, fumbled, or throws an interception. Bo Nix is next at 1 out of every 11. Guys like Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams are way up there, 1 out of every 3, 1 out of every 4. They can't handle the pressure. I don't know, and this is all Pat Kerwin information from Sirius NFL Radio. I would really like to know where Spencer Rattler falls in that. Now, you guys all know, I mean, as you get down lower into the draft, you've got a bunch of 5th to 7th round quarterbacks. None of these guys are worth taking except Tua Tagovailoa, Tua 2, as I call him. Tua 2, if we are unable for some reason to get a quarterback, and there's no reason we can't get a quarterback, with our top 2 picks in this draft, I would consider Tua to be my fallback position because although he's small, he's a playmaker, and you can't teach that. Now, as you look at his blue chips, he's got Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison, Romo Dunze, Malik Neighbors, Brock Bowers, Troy Fatanu, Talise Fuaga, Chop Robinson, Jared Verse, and I do believe that is it in terms of blue chippers. He's only got a few more guys as first rounders, only one other receiver, two other receivers. Brian Thomas and Lad McConkey. Ben Sinnott is a first rounder. Interesting, may affect how I draft. Olu Fashanu is a first rounder. Darius Robinson. Braden Fisk has moved up into the first round for Rob. I keep calling him Rob Thomas. Rob Staten, Terrion Arnold, and Quinyon Mitchell. Now, I heard yesterday that people think Arnold is going to be the first pick over Quinyon Mitchell, but if the Eagles, for instance, move up, they'll be moving up for Quinyon Mitchell, not Terrion Arnold. Okay, so they agree with Rob on that. Again, there's not a lot of help here. The Seahawks don't really need a tackle. They could use one, but they don't really need one. Most of these guys are tackles. Even Troy Fatanu, who everybody touts as a guard, is likely a tackle, possibly even a left tackle at the next level, at the NFL level. So it really makes things complicated for the Seahawks depending on how the draft plays out. So why don't we slide over to the PFN mock draft simulator and let's just take a look and see how this all falls out according to the latest news and rumors that are out there. Okay, we're going to select number of rounds. We're going to select 2. We're going to pick for all of the teams, and we're just going to go ahead and get started because, again, speed doesn't matter. So let's enter the solo draft. Now, everybody says it's locked in that Caleb Williams is going number 1 to the Chicago Bears. Okay, we'll do that. I wouldn't do this if I was Chicago. I don't like Caleb Williams. I don't care about how talented he is. I think he's another Cam Newton waiting to happen, which means he'll put up a lot of numbers. He'll win some games, but he doesn't have the heart of a champion. And anybody who paints his nails pink and wears pink lipstick and has a pink iPhone case is a narcissist. He's focused on himself. He's not really interested in being anything but a star quarterback in the NFL and making a lot of money. I don't think that's the heart of a winner. I don't think that's the heart of a champion. And I think while the Bears will be better and they will be contenders and they will win games, I don't see them ever winning a Super Bowl with Caleb Williams. So I would not do this. I would probably try to flip out and do a trade if I could, but the Bears are stuck with him. The Bears are stuck with him because they traded away the first overall pick and didn't take CJ Stroud last year. Now, that brings up the Washington Commanders. I think everything is settled in on the Commanders going Jaden Daniels with the second pick, 1-2. That's where it is. That's what is happening. And, I don't think there's any doubt that those are going to be the first 2 picks tomorrow. Those are the 2 things that are not in doubt. Now things start to get interesting with the third pick because we're into the New England Patriots who really need a quarterback. But they've made a lot of noise about being willing to trade out. Now, when they do that, they're doing that because they're willing to trade out. The question is somebody like the Vikings willing to trade up to number 3 to get Drake May? And the latest is that no, they don't believe in May enough to trade up what it would take to get up to number 3. And what it would take is probably 3 first-round picks plus more. And I don't think the Vikings are going to do that. Now, one possibility is 11, 23, which is their top 2 picks, and Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson, they're having a contract dispute. They're not able to pay him. I think Justin Jefferson is the most overrated receiver in the NFL. The reason he's thought of so highly is because he piles up gobs of yards. Well, why did he get all that yardage for the fantasy owners? Why did he get all that yardage? Because he has Kirk Cousins, who's a pretty damn good quarterback, throwing to him. Kirk is a great quarterback when he's not under pressure, not in a big game. In an average regular season game between the 20s, Kirk Cousins is one of the best quarterbacks out there. He fires the ball, and Jefferson gets open and catches that stuff. But Justin Jefferson disappears in the fourth quarter. The Seahawks have played the Vikings twice since they drafted Justin Jefferson. And I can't remember Jefferson doing a single thing or making any kind of big plays against us, as bad as our defense was. I think he might have had one touchdown where basically we had a blown coverage and he was wide open for a touchdown. But that's all I can remember. The guy is not an impact player. I think DK Metcalf is far more talented a player than Justin Jefferson. So they're now faced because the Detroit Lions just basically gave a huge $127 million deal to Amon-Ra St. Brown. They're now looking at, or $27 million a year, $30 million a year average. They're looking at a gigantic contract to pay out to Justin Jefferson. And honestly, I don't know what the Vikings cap situation is. Let's go check it. Let's go check it while we're talking about it. Let's just go over here. And again, OTC, just have it come into the cap calculator. That's what everybody goes here for, is the cap calculator. And the cap calculator is broken. Okay. They have 16 million in cap space. Deal like that. I don't know what Amon-Ra St. Brown's first year deal is, but they have 16.62 million. If they traded Justin Jefferson, I don't think they save anything under the cap. Well, actually, they save if they trade him, they save 19 million under the cap, 19.7 million. Wow. So that's a good deal. Let's go back, and I was going to say, well, no, let's just stick here. Let's just stay here. All right. So, that brings up interesting possibilities. They could get rid of a headache in Justin Jefferson, and they could probably get rid of that. And they would trade these 2 picks, 11 and 23, for number 3. And that might be enough to coax the Patriots down to number 11. So I'll tell you what, since I've been talking about this, let's just do that trade. Let's just propose a trade. Let's go with the Vikings and the Patriots. I know the Patriots. There they are. Let's go with the Vikings and the Patriots. Let's go 11, 23, 108. And let's say Jefferson is the equivalent of the first round pick next year, because next a pick a year later is generally regarded as equivalent to the middle of the round. So that would be like the 16th pick next year for New England's number 3. Let's see if they'll accept it. They do accept it. The Vikings jump up to number 3 to take the quarterback they want. But here's the problem. I don't think this is actually going to happen, but I'm going to model it anyway, because the Vikings, from the latest word, is that they don't believe in anybody enough, Drake May or JJ McCarthy, to actually move up and make this trade. They don't believe in anybody enough. They'd rather stick and pick at 11, thinking they're going to get one of the quarterbacks they want there. However, I suspect that is smokescreen. And this way, they've rid themselves of Justin Jefferson's ridiculous contract that they're going to have to give him. And they've only unloaded a few picks. They didn't actually give up next year's first round pick. So they can take Drake May, the quarterback of the future in Minnesota. Now, everybody thinks the Cardinals are going to trade out. But right now, who are they going to trade with? Well, it would have been the Broncos a few days ago. But they're not really desperate for a quarterback right now, because guess what? They, believe it or not, they just signed or traded for Zach Wilson. So I think they're in the drop down and take a quarterback mode. Now, the Cardinals would be interested in trading out here. There seems to be some truth in that, but they're going to demand a ridiculously high price. They're going to demand a ridiculously high price, like 3 first-round picks. I don't see anybody behind them actually doing that. So I think the Cardinals, they also, apparently, they were recently today, there was a report, they're happy just to stick and pick with Marvin Harrison Jr. And again, if you go over to the Arizona Cardinals, if you look over on Tankathon, they've got like 7 picks in the top 104. That's where all the talent is in this draft. It's the top 100 picks. They got 4, 27, 35, 66, 71, 90, 104. They're loaded with picks. They don't need any more picks. I don't think they're going to do anything here except take the elite guy, the guy that fits their number 1 need, which is wide receiver. And I think that's going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. So boom, he goes to the Arizona Cardinals. And, if the Seahawks don't watch it, Cardinals are going to pass them by in this draft in terms of talent levels. So now we come to the Los Angeles Chargers and Jim Harbaugh. Well, I'm sure Jim Harbaugh really likes his quarterback, J.J. McCarthy from Michigan. There is some rumor that the Giants like him. Nobody can decide whether the Giants are going to take a quarterback or not. Nobody really knows if they're going to take a quarterback, but the Chargers also don't have a legit wide receiver on the roster. So now the decision that's going on, that's probably been made today by Harbaugh is, do I want to recreate what I've always done in the past, which is build offensive lines, build defensive lines, get big, emphasize the running game, and have don't have a gunslinger at quarterback, have a guy who can just get the job done, like he did with JJ McCarthy at Michigan. If he wants to do that, fine, but this is the NFL. And he may recognize, hey, guess what? You know what? I think that I think that in the NFL these days, I have to score 30 points a game to win. And as much as I like my guy, JJ McCarthy from Michigan, I'm not doing that. So the option here would have been to trade with the Vikings for their 2 picks, and maybe end up with one of the receivers at 11 to add to JJ McCarthy, or to trade Justin Herbert. I don't think he does either one of these things. I think he makes the logical decision. I think he takes the second best receiver on the board. I think that receiver is Rome Odunze of Washington, but most people are modeling Malik Neighbors. I'm going to go with Odunze because he's better than Neighbors. Now, the Giants. The Giants also could be looking for a quarterback. Here's the thing that they are definitely doing. They are definitely looking at the quarterbacks, at JJ McCarthy, or they could be adding what they think is the best receiver in the draft. They could also go for an offensive lineman. I don't think that happens. I think they go for the leftover receiver, whether it's on Dunze or Neighbors. And they'll say, you know what? We'll get a quarterback on the day 2 or day 3. We'll worry about that position again, because they've already got Drew Lock and Daniel Jones there. And Daniel Jones has played well at times. Now we come to Tennessee. So what's Tennessee going to do? Well, I think Tennessee is ripe for trading down. Everybody says, oh, this is easy. Joe Alt, they need a left tackle. They need a left tackle really badly. And Joe Alt is the best left tackle in this draft. So Joe Alt goes right here. They do need a left tackle. They also have a lack of skilled playmakers on the offense for Will Levis, the quarterback that the Seahawks should have had last year, the quarterback that they're building around. So do they sit and pick and just take the obvious guy that everybody has mocked to them, or do they think about doing something else? Well, I believe they think about doing something else. And that something else is, we're going to trade out with the Raiders. Or, look, it comes down to 2 things. Brock Bowers, the tight end from Georgia, or they trade out with the Raiders. Now, what do the Raiders have to do here? The Raiders are thinking, well, we're sitting here. We're going to have to get up in front of New England to get the quarterback that we want. So if we're going to do that, we have to trade with somebody. We have to trade with Atlanta. We have to trade with Tennessee. Atlanta is looking at an edge, but no defensive players have been taken yet. Why? Because this is a shit defensive draft. So the question is, what does Tennessee do? Do they do the obvious thing? Do they take the offensive tackle? Do they surprise and take Brock Bowers, the tight end? Do they trade with the Raiders? The Raiders are going to have to get up in front of New England. I think they're going to take the tackle. They're just going to take the tackle, solidify their backside, and get a receiver in the second round. Because if you remember, Rob Staten's big board, let's go back over there. Let's share this tab. Rob Staten's big board. If you go back over there, look at all these second round wide receivers. Conkey, Pearsall, Keon Coleman, Adonai Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, Xavier Leggetti. Two guys named Xavier. Leggett is, I think, a really good player. So that's what happens. I think they stick and pick because they can do better. They can do good in the second round. I can get a wide receiver there. So now Atlanta is looking at, their top need is an edge. They could use a wide receiver. There's no wide receivers. We're taking at number 8. There is a super talented receiver on the board, however. So why take an edge who, again, if you go back and look at the edges, Chop Robinson and Jared Verse are considered blue chip. But let's be honest. This is what I'd like to ask Rob if I could have him on my show. Do you think that Chop Robinson and Jared Verse, how do you rate them against Will Anderson, who went, number 3 or 4 or 5 to the Texans last year and was defensive rookie of the year and had, 8, 9, 10 sacks? Because I don't think that either one of them is as good as Will Anderson was. So do you take an edge guy or do you take a value pick? A value pick at number 8. I think you take the value pick. I think you take the guy who can score touchdowns. You give the guy to Kirk Cousins to throw to, Brock Bowers, that other tight end, Kyle Pitts. They'll either move on from him or trade him, or they will run more 2 tight end sets. That's what I think they do. Now Chicago just took Caleb Williams. They need to do something to help with the offensive line, the top receivers, and possibly the tight end they really wanted. Brock Bowers just got taken off the board. What do the Bears do? I think the Bears look to swap out. So this is where I see a trade. The Raiders, because the Bears only have 4 picks in this draft. So they need more draft picks. So we're going to do a proposed trade. We're going to go with the Raiders. They're going to trade up to Chicago's spot. They're going to offer 13 and 44 for 9. Let's see if the Bears will take that. They do. They get the second round pick. The Raiders come up and they take their quarterback right here. The problem is, who's their quarterback? Well, JJ McCarthy is liked by a lot of teams. The far better player is Michael Penix Jr., who's rated 28. Boom. Penix goes to the Raiders, and all they had to do was give up a second round pick to get the next Daryl LaMonica. I can't call him Ken Stabler because his arm is 1,000 times better than Ken Stabler. So they get their quarterback. Now the Jets are sitting here. Well, what are they going to do? Well, they probably would have liked to have Brock Bowers slip to them. Didn't happen. Let's just go ahead and get the guy that's going to protect Aaron Rodgers' backside left tackle. That's not Oli Fashanu. It's Talise Fuaga from Oregon State. Boom, there he goes. That now leaves the New England Patriots with a chance to take their quarterback. Okay, they acquired extra picks. They now have 3 picks in this 2-round draft that we're doing. They can take JJ McCarthy here. Now, the Broncos could have been interested in JJ McCarthy, and they would have had to leapfrog over the Patriots. But again, they just traded for Zach Wilson. They seem to still be under the delusion that Sean Payton can work with quarterbacks, which he can't. So I think the Broncos aren't going to trade up. I think they're going to trade out. I think that the Patriots are going to take JJ McCarthy at number 11 right in front of them. And that's going to upset some Broncos fans. Want them to get their quarterback of the future, but it's not going to be in the first round of this draft, at least not right quite yet. Now, so what do the Broncos do here? Do they stick and pick? Do they take an edge? Do they take, another corner? They do have Patrick Surtain to trade. So theoretically, they could have traded up and, could be the Broncos. I've got all these trades being made by the Raiders, by the Broncos, or by the Vikings. Those all make sense. The Broncos, do they trade? I think they look to trade out. The question is, who's going to trade up with them? And again, there are no defensive players off the board. So their 2 biggest suitors for the 12th pick are going to be the Philadelphia Eagles and the LA Rams. I think the Rams are going to trade up here. The edge is their number 1 priority. So the Rams are going to make a selection. They're going to trade with Denver. they're going to say, okay, we'll give you 19 and 52 for 12. Let's see what the Broncos do. They accept the trade. Okay, boom. So the LA Rams move up. They take the edge guy that they want. Is it Dallas Turner? Is it Liatu Latu? Is it Jared Verse? Um, I think in this particular case, it is Jared Verse. That is the guy that they are going to be looking for in this particular spot. Bang, he goes to the LA Chargers. Now the Bears have traded back. They picked up an extra second round pick. They have a need at edge. They could get some blockers for Caleb Williams, but again, I think the guy that they like here, the guy that they can afford to take some risk on, is going to be, well, Rob has Chop Robinson. It's going to be an edge here, I think, if they stick and pick. Dallas Turner makes some sense to pair. They were trying to pair with somebody with Montez Sweat. Let's go with Chop Robinson. Let's stick to Rob's board and say he's a better player. Now you have a situation where you're looking at the Saints. They need tackles, they need guards. Why not take a guy who is a tackle and a guard? Troy Fatanu from Washington goes there. He's a better player than Oli Fashanu. Now we come to the Colts. Well, the Colts need wide receivers, corners. They also want edge guys. They were probably thinking about trading up here. The Colts are a team that could trade up. The Jets, for instance, could trade back with the Colts and still pick up an offensive lineman here. And the Colts could get the edge guy that they want. But the truth is, they stick, they pick, they end up with Dallas Turner as the edge. So 2 edges out of 3. Now we come to the Seattle Seahawks. Well, do they take a risk at Liatu Latu? Their 2 favorite offensive linemen are off the board. And let's face reality, the Seahawks' number 1 need is actually quarterback. It's not any of these other positions. It's not linebacker. It's not offensive guard. It's not offensive tackle. It's none of those things. So they're going to look for a trade partner. And believe it or not, they're going to find one. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to make a proposal to the Seattle Seahawks. And they're going to say, you know what? We know you're desperate. We've got 2 second-round picks, but we know you are desperate. We'd like to just offer you a third, but we don't have one. So we're going to offer you 22 and 53 for 16. They're going to propose that to the Seahawks, and the Seahawks are going to accept it. So the Eagles are going to jump up, and they're going to take Quinyon Mitchell, the top corner in the draft, because corner is a desperate need for them. That upsets the Jags, who probably were looking at, I don't know, offensive tackle, wide receiver, edge even. They could do a lot of different things here. Logically, everybody says corner is their biggest need. So let's just have them take the next guy, Terrion Arnold, leaving the Bengals on the clock. Well, the Bengals need offensive and defensive line help. Olu Fashanu has gone too far. I think the Bengals just say, look, we're going to take the offensive lineman. Now, the Broncos have dropped back. They are still looking at quarterback. They probably want to drop back further, but who's going to come up? Who is out there that needs to make a trade for a player that's not going to be there on the board when they draft? And one team I could think of is the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are probably thinking we're going to have to come up and get somebody. So what we're going to do is we're going to make an offer to the Denver Broncos right here. Buffalo Bills are going to trade with the Denver Broncos, and they are going to offer them 28 and 128 for 19. It's a 4th round pick, not a third. It's been rejected. Okay, so we're going to have to sweeten the pot. Let's try it one more time. We're going to go with the Buffalo Bills. They're going to also trade with the Denver Broncos, and they're going to go 28, 128, and 144 for 19. That's been rejected. All right. We're going to try it one more time, and then we're going to give up on it. Try to make the trade here. So the Bills are going to trade with the Broncos. If I was the Broncos, I would have taken that last deal. 128, 133 for 19. And it's been rejected. All right. Broncos are stuck. They're going to have to stick and pick. Why would they stay here? Well, they would stay here because they are going to take the guy that they want at this point. It's a quarterback. His name is Bo Nix. He's from Oregon. He fits the Sean Payton system. Now, I know Rob has Bo Nix as a third round pick. He's not. He's a first round pick. He has everything you could want in a quarterback, and that pressure against the blitz thing. I just, again, teams aren't going to wait on quarterbacks. They're not going to mess around. They're just going to stick and pick. They didn't like those offers they got from the Bills, so they're going to stay there. All right. The Pittsburgh Steelers probably did not expect Laiatu Latu to be here. He's a great player. He's got lots of talent. But what they really need is help on the offensive line. They're going to take Amarius Mims from Georgia, who's a terrific player. That leaves J.C. Latham, the last of the real first-round offensive tackles. Let me look at the first-round offensive tackles. Yeah. Tanu, Fuaga, Mims, Alt, Latham, and Tyler Guyton and Oli Fashanu are first-round tackles as far as Rob Staten is concerned, which, again, I have a great deal of respect for. Now, this brings up the Seattle Seahawks. So the Buffalo Bills are sighing a sigh of relief. Everybody in Seattle right now is buzzing. Laiatu Latu, he's got ties. You know, people in Seattle are such rubes. They love that. Oh, he played at the University of Washington. He's from Seattle. Oh, let's go get the Seattle guy. That's so awesome. Yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. That's crap. Latu has a bad injury history, and these are not like ACLs like Michael Penix, who you can recover from. This is a serious neck injury, so I think taking a risk on him at 22 isn't great. Not a great idea. The New England Patriots here are lurking at 2023, probably looking for a wide receiver because, after all, they got J.J. McCarthy with their first pick. Now they're going to want to give him a wide receiver. Guess who knows that? The Buffalo Bills. So now the Bills are going to come back and they're going to try to trade with the Seahawks. So the Bills are going to say, we're going to trade with Seattle for this spot at 22. We're going to give you 28, 128, and 133 for 22. And it's been rejected. It just doesn't seem to want to do that. Try it again. Buffalo next, Seattle next. We'll keep doing it. 28, 128, 144. I don't want to give up 60. It's been rejected. All right, so we're gonna have to go. Maybe it's the way. Maybe it's the sequence. Usually, it's the outside team. Oh, let's try it one more time. We'll try the Bills with the Seahawks. We'll go 28 and 60 for 22. That trade's been accepted. Okay, they had to give up 60. That's fine. Seahawks now have 2 second-round picks. They're up here to take Brian Thomas Jr., the wide receiver. That's the guy they want. He's going to replace Stephon Diggs, and it's going to break the hearts of the New England Patriots. Or is it? Well, yeah, the Patriots could reach here and take a wide receiver, but if you look, they've still got to pick at 34 where they can get a wide receiver. I think they're in best player available mode. They probably can't believe Byron Murphy, who was supposed to be a top 10 pick, is here. They're just going to take him and go with it. Next, we have the Dallas Cowboys. They need offensive line help. I think Tyler Guyton makes a lot of sense for them. Same thing with the Packers. They're looking for offensive line help. A lot of it is off the board. They could also use linebackers. They can get that in the second round. I think Jordan Morgan of Arizona is a guy that rates first round consideration. And I think, Rob has him high in the second. But, oh, well, they go with Jordan Morgan. And again, I'm just trying to fill in spots here. Now comes Tampa. They're picking 26. It's less of a risk. Laiatu Latu, he fits their need perfectly. He's so much more talented as an edge guy than those other players. Now we look back at the Arizona Cardinals come back. There are a lot of good players out here. They got the wide receiver, and they need a defensive tackle, a cornerback, an edge, an offensive guard. They have multiple picks. Do they take the number 3 corner on their list, or do they take somebody who's better than that? Let's go look over at corners. I think that The corners here are all second round guys. Do you reach for a need? Here's the thing. If they don't reach to fill a need, is there anybody who's just obviously there that fits another one of their needs? And I guess the only guy is Johnny Newton. So boom, he goes right there. Now, Seahawks are on the board. The trade offers are dried up. They've gone as far as they can go. What do they do at this point? You can go for none of these guys excites me. None of them. Tyler Nubin, no. Lad McConkey, no. Zach Frazier, no. Jackson Powers Johnson, give me a break. Cooper DeJean, some of the idiots like Hawk Blogger and Seahawks retard Nelson. Oh yeah, Cooper DeJean. They don't need Cooper DeJean. They have 5 safeties on the roster, 2 of which are on 1-year deals, but they can always sign them to 1-year deals again next year, or they can sign other guys to 1-year deals. You've dropped a couple times. You've gotten lucky in the trades. You've been able to pick up, 2 second-round picks out of these trades. I think you're very lucky to have been able to do that. And you're not going to screw around. John Schneider is going to redeem all of those terrible drafts for the last 10 years, and he's going to fill the need he should have filled a couple years ago. He should have tried to fill again last year. He's finally going to take the quarterback that's got first round talent. I don't care about this 104. I don't care what these people think about him. I've seen him play. I've listened to people who know football, who've played at the NFL level, like RG3, the former number 2 overall pick in the draft. Spencer Rattler is not only going to be a legitimate pro quarterback, he is a legitimate first round pick. He goes to the Seahawks, and they still get to make their big splash and surprise everybody. That pick is fine. They'll be it. This is a dangerous game to play. 16 to 22 is bad enough. Playing out 22 to 28, it's a dangerous game because somebody could that wants the last viable first round talent quarterback in this draft could leapfrog them and go get them. So that's a major issue. So the Lions are up. What do the Lions do? Well, they could use a corner. There's several available. They could use some good defensive backs. They could also use an edge. The problem is there's just all the edge guys are gone. I think I do not rate Cooper DeJean here. I do not rate him at 25. Rob has him in the 3rd round. But I think other teams might rate him higher, or there's this pressure. No, they're going to take Nate Wiggins. They take the corner from Clemson. Now we come to the Baltimore Ravens. They could have traded up. They decided not to. They instead take Xavier Worthy, who had the fastest 4.21 40. I think Xavier Worthy goes to the Ravens. The 49ers. Now they're going to probably trade Brandon Ayuk either today or on the clock. And they're going to need a wide receiver to replace him. I say they settle in on a Donnie Mitchell and take him. Guess who else needs a wide receiver? Guess who else? The Kansas City Chiefs. They're taking the next guy, Keon Coleman. Boom, boom, boom on the wide receivers the last few picks. Now we come to the Carolina Panthers, the first pick in the 2nd round. I think they've got to be reasonably happy. They invested a lot in their interior offensive line to try to help their quarterback Bryce Young. They could use some guys to block for him. They could use a lot of things. One thing they don't have is they don't have a center and they don't have a wide receiver. Jackson Powers Johnson has got to be very tempting right here, but I think they take Lad McConkey, who some people, including Rob, have rated as a first-round pick, a viable first-round pick. Again, I don't see it that way, but they take him to have a good, solid, a receiver, a safety valve that Bryce Young can always rely on. Now we come back to the New England Patriots. They probably thought they were going to get a wide receiver here at number 34. I don't know that they really can or that they really will. They need defensive backs. I think they take Cooper DeJean right there. Now, the Cardinals, they got a wide receiver. They got a defensive tackle. Let's go get him a corner. Let's just take Kool-Aid McKinstry off the board right there. The Washington Redskins. Okay, they took a quarterback first. They also need some offensive line help. Offensive tackle is listed as one of their bigger needs here. I just want to look at the tackles a little bit. Um, Kingsley Sumiatria is definitely rated up there. Let's see where. Yeah, Rob has him as a fringe second, third round guy. So why don't we have them jump back and take Roger Rosengarten, the offensive tackle from Washington, who is a pure, real offensive tackle. Now the Chargers. Chargers took Romo Dunze, their wide receiver, in the first round. They still need corners. They still could use an offensive tackle. I think they can afford to take a risk on Kingsley Sumiatia. So after that, the Chargers, I think, go all defense. Now, the Tennessee Titans, they went tackle in the first round. They took Joe Alt. That's a pick I don't feel very good about. I still think they'll probably take an a guy who can score touchdowns. They still need a wide receiver. Do they reach? Do they get somebody? I'm going to give him Jalen Polk, the next wide receiver on the list from Washington, because they need some outside guys with some speed. That brings the Carolina Panthers back onto the clock. They took Lad McConkey, the wide receiver. They could go get a center. Jackson Powers Johnson is still sitting there, but I don't know if he's a good fit for them. I don't know if they need a center. It says they need a center. All right, let's give them Jackson Powers Johnson. Now the Redskins, quarterback and offensive tackle. They addressed those. Now they need a corner. TJ Tampa will go to them. The Packers have 2 second-round picks, right? Yeah, they have 58 and 41. I think at 41, they're in best player available mode. They can use an inside offensive lineman. They'll go with Graham Barton, the guy that a lot of people have the Seahawks taking. That would be foolish. Now, the Houston Texans are on the board for the first time. They need defensive tackles. They need cornerbacks. They need offensive tackles. They need linebackers. They could also use maybe an edge guy. How about we give them... I don't like any of these guys. I don't like any of these guys. Let's go with Edgerrin Cooper, the linebacker. Texas local product. Linebackers on their list will go there. Falcons. The Falcons took Brock Bowers. Now they're looking for an edge. The best edge left is Idezia Isaac. The Bears, quarterback and edge, their first 2 picks. Now it's time to get some help inside for the blocking for Caleb Williams. Do you take Christian Haynes or do you take Zach Frazier, the offensive center, because you truly need a center, or do you take Haynes and want to convert him to a center? Haynes, he's a better player. Same thing with the Saints. They're going to go now. Offensive line with their second pick. They go Cooper Beebe. So now they've got Fatanu and Beebe. They have a much improved offensive line. The Colts, they needed wide receivers, cornerbacks, edge. Are there any wide receivers we're taking here? Yeah. Xavier Legette, the big fast receiver out of South Carolina, caught passes from Spencer Rattler, can go there. The Giants, they took a wide receiver with the first pick. Now they're on the board. They need corners. They need running backs. They need offensive tackles. How about we give them the first running back in the draft, Troy Benson from Florida State? The Jags took a corner in the first round. They also need wide receivers. The wide receivers are going fast, so they're going to pivot to defensive tackle. They take Rook Orohoro. The Bengals probably would have liked to have taken Rook Orohoro, but they also need wide receivers, offensive tackles. I don't think there's any real second-round tackles here except Patrick Paul, so they swing over there. Now we come back to the Eagles. The Eagles traded up to get Quinyon Mitchell, the corner. Their other big need is linebacker. Let's go over to the linebackers. I think they can afford, because they have multiple picks, to take a risk on Peyton Wilson, but I don't think they do. I think they take Cedric Gray. I understand that they love him. Love him. Now the Steelers, they went offensive tackle in the first round. They come back. They need a center. They need a corner. They need wide receivers. Who do they go with here? Somebody to help. Maybe Russell Wilson a little bit, or whoever's going to be the next quarterback, whether it's going to be Justin Fields. They take Zach Frazier, the center. The Broncos got Bo Nix in the first round. They could use a defensive tackle here. They also could use some guys that could rush the passer. They could use a wide receiver. Do they reach? No, I think they go with Ben Sinnott, the next best tight end, and a guy who has star quality written all over him. He goes there. Now the Seahawks are sitting at 53. They probably would have taken Sinnott, but they already risked a lot and took Spencer Rattler in the first round. Sorry. They got a lot of guys staring them in the face, a lot of defensive players. Their biggest needs on the defensive side of the ball are defensive tackle and linebacker. I think they take the risk. They go with Braden Fisk, a defensive tackle from Florida State. That's okay by the Cleveland Browns because they also want a defensive tackle. They're going to take Michael Hall Jr. from Ohio State. Now, the Dolphins, they got an offensive tackle in the first round. They could use a guard. I don't think there's any guards up here that are really all that great for them to take. They could also use a defensive tackle. I think the tackles start to fly off the board here. I think they go with Chris Jenkins of Michigan. Now, the Dallas Cowboys, they got their offensive tackle in the first round. They could also use a center. There are no centers to take here. There's no really inside players. They could use a linebacker. And I think they take a risk. Peyton Wilson is the guy with an injury history, but they like to go for those guys. They take risks on them. You know, Leighton Vander Esch, Kyle Van Noy. Those are guys that they're going to take risks on. Tampa Bay, they went edge in the first round. They also need to get some help for who's the quarterback? Anyway, I think that they come back here with a corner and go with Max Milton. The Green Bay Packers, they need help at linebacker, at edge. They probably would have taken one of the linebackers, cornerback. I think they just go with Ennis Rakestraw right there. Baker Mayfield, sorry. They're going to have to wait on that. Now the Houston Texans take the big risk. The guy with all the problems. The guy that nobody seems to love, but he is a local Texas product. Where is he? T'Vondre Sweat. Did I go past him? Did I go past T'Vondre Sweat? Search. Yeah, T'Vondre Sweat. Kaboom. He goes right there. So, what does that leave the Seahawks at 60? Well, the Seahawks so far have gotten a quarterback. They've gotten a defensive tackle. Now I think they switch over to the offensive side of the ball. Mostly right now, it's wide receivers, but Christian Mahogany is there. Cedric Van Pran is there. Is guard or center a bigger need is the question. A lot of people like a lot of players here. I think they just go with Christian Mahogany from Boston College. Just fill out that pick. The Detroit Lions, they need an edge. They need a corner. They went corner in the first round. Let's go edge in the second round. Let's go find where is he? Where is he? There's no edges in this range. I overestimated it. So I guess they do the fallback position and they'll go with a wide receiver and take Ricky Pearsall, the speedy wide receiver. Okay, so these teams all went wide receiver at the end of the first round. Chris Braswell was there. Fuck you, Dave Barra. So the Baltimore Ravens are going to come back and go with a defensive lineman. Trying to think of who would be a good pick for them here. Let's just say Darius Robinson. The 49ers cook a wide receiver. They now need a defensive back to go with it. There really aren't any good ones. We'll go with Saints Thrill. And then the Kansas City Chiefs also need to go back with a defensive back, Tyler Nubin. And that ends the 2-round mock draft. So, yeah, did we get a little bit ragged in the second round? Yeah, we did. But here's the cool thing. The Seahawks ended up with the guy that they needed the most, one of the top 7 quarterbacks, Spencer Rattler. Braden Fisk, the defensive tackle, is kind of a luxury pick, and Christian Mahogany is a necessity pick. at number 60. They went with their needs. They got off to a good start, and they have more picks available in this draft. So we had a lot of trades. It's not going to happen this way. Teams are going to trade up that we don't expect to trade up. Teams are going to trade down that we don't expect to trade down. But that's the best we can do. There's our first two round mock. We really should limit it to the first round, I think. So, anyway, Seahawk Boy Dave and me will be on later on tonight after I do Whiskey and Wisdom, and we will go from there. Baker Mayfield, senior moment. All right, everybody, have a good time. You enjoy your day today. Keep your eye on the rumors and be back here, I guess, tomorrow. I don't know what we'll do tomorrow in terms of coverage or anything. Probably, I'm going to be out at a bar watching the draft because knowing the Seahawks, I'm going to be needing to drink. They're going to probably pass on Penix, Nix, and Rattler to take some fucking, guy who can't pass rush. That's my guess as to what really happens. So we'll be there, and probably want to do a stream afterwards just to criticize the pick, unless they are smart and do what I want them to do, which is take a quarterback. Anyway, see you tomorrow. Love you guys. I'll switch the audience. It automatically defaults for some reason in my software to made for kids, which means you can't comment. So I'm going to go switch that as soon as we're done. Like, subscribe, get over to the Seahawk Boys Fearless and Stupid NFL channel and subscribe to that. And also the blog, the Seahawk Boys blog. Love you guys. Thanks for being here. Thanks for putting up with me. Talk to you later. Let's hope they do the right thing tomorrow.